We are talking about the movie Sleep No More, which is also known as 200 Hours. This one is directed by Philip Guzman. The only recognisable star I can see was Bree Grant, who's been in a bunch of kind of horror films recently. And this one, we've seen a rash of these kind of sleep paralysis movies in kind of the recent couple of years. Now, this one isn't actually a sleep paralysis movie, but it's on the same lines, I would say. You can kind of lump it into sleep horror, I would say. But the movie I would compare this to the most is Flatliners. Now, I've not seen the remake, I've only seen the original, but it's so much like Flatliners. Essentially, you have a group of university students that are doing some kind of trial, and ultimately the goal is that they are trying to eliminate the need for sleep. And to do this, they need to stay up for 200 hours. The idea being, once they kind of get to that, it will eliminate the body's need for sleep. And to help them, they've got this kind of this particular like experimental drug. Now, the person in charge of it ultimately gets these kind of groups of students and kind of goes a little bit off book, doing human trials. And whilst these guys are sort of taking this drug and kind of staying up for this kind of period of time, they start to see strange apparitions, and there seems to be that there may be almost like another dimension or other beings that are on this plane that are actually kind of like you can only see because of the state that they're in, have no sleep. And these creatures have their own agenda about what they want. Now, as to what will happen, you have to see the movie to find out, so that's as far as I'm going to go. So let's talk about this movie. So it's so similar to Flatliners. I mean, it's just like you just change slightly the kind of the science that they're doing, and it's kind of more or less the same film. I mean, each of these kind of students end up kind of facing their own kind of fear, if that makes sense. It's basically a Flatliners remake. What worked about this movie? I got to say, I thought the acting wasn't too bad. I thought the acting for all these guys was quite good. I mean, some of them act erratic, but obviously you can chalk that up to the fact that they're meant to kind of have, at this point, be losing their minds a little bit because they've not slept. But it sometimes goes in a little bit of a steep incline to being kind of normal to kind of acting crazy in a very kind of short amount of time. Obviously, the film isn't 200 hours, so we have to have some time jumps. But nonetheless, it just feels a little bit jarring at times. But I'd say the acting is pretty good. And these kind of effects that they use for both the creatures and also the kind of just the projections about what they're seeing look quite cool. I mean, they're CGI, and you can tell they're CGI, but I still kind of quite like the effects. I think these things have like this billowy kind of smoke effect, and they kind of look a little bit like Grim Reapers and stuff. I actually thought they looked quite good, in all honesty. So that was all quite good, and it ends up being a little bit of a cat and mouse game. Who's going to kind of survive? You know, ultimately. I mean, the characters are somewhat broad. You know, we have the kind of the cowardly one, for example, etc. We have the doctor who simply doesn't seem to care about her patients, stuff like that. So the characters are pretty broad, and therefore a little bit of a stereotype, which makes it kind of a little bit frustrating. To be honest, and to be honest with the main critique of this film is it's just, I think it's just unoriginal because it is such a copy of Flatliners, and their science is a little bit of a gobbledygook as well. To be honest with you, it just seems a little bit silly, and people's reaction to stuff just don't seem kind of realistic. I mean, when bad stuff happens, people just wouldn't act like this. I mean, it's not the actor's fault. This is the way the script is. It's just that the script chooses to take a narrative choice that suits to carry the story forward, not to kind of serve any type of realism. And I was actually speaking to a filmmaker once, and I was saying, do you know what I'd really like? To see a film where people just act realistically like they would in real life. I would love it, but it never seems to happen. We have these kind of bizarre things, and for example, when one of our characters first sees an apparition, they're not freaked out. They're a little bit, oh my god, what's this? You know, but they're just. I mean, imagine if you'd seen this kind of ghostly apparition of your dead mother, you would freak out. You would literally drop your shorts and you fall over, and that's what would happen. I mean, you see it in all these kind of like scare prank videos. But no, this guy just kind of like, oh, what's going on? You know, it irritates me when kind of like films are so far removed from a realistic reactions to people, just because they want to tell, just because they want to get the story forward and stuff like that. And I just wish a filmmaker one day would make a film with realistic reactions. It'd be great. It'd be the best film ever, probably. Anyway, so overall, it's a pretty standard kind of horror film. I wouldn't say it's anything special. It's just kind of a by the numbers spooky flick, which I think tries to mask that it's, you know, not really an original idea by just kind of changing some bits and calling it something else, but it's just flatliners. So there you go. It's okay. The effects are good, you know, pretty good. The acting is okay. The story's here and there because I just don't like some of the way it's written, but it's not terrible. I'll give it a 5 out of 10. It's actually available now if you wanted to go check it out, but it's been available in Asia for some time, I believe. Anyway, have you seen it? What did you think of it? 5 out of 10 for me. Let me know what you thought, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.